Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Mohana Priya and you're watching Updates at Noon. In our top stories today, 7 billion ringgit worth of projects under Jana Wibawa cancelled. Offence to upload, share obscene content. Some 7.2 billion ringgit worth of projects awarded to Jana Wibawa program contractors involving the Rural and Regional Development Ministry KKDW have been cancelled. Its Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is also the Deputy Prime Minister, said the decision to cancel the tenders was made by the Ministry of Finance and the projects would be re-tendered. Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid said the re-tender process will follow the procedure as well as code of ethics set by the Finance Ministry.
Kita tahu bahawa ada sedikit gangguan dari segi pelaksanaannya, tapi yakinlah kalau tata etika dan juga peraturan diikuti, ianya akan dilakukan dengan segera dan insya-Allah projek-projek itu akan siap dalam tempoh yang telah ditentukan.
Earlier this year, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim announced the decision to cancel 7 billion ringgit projects awarded under the Jana Wibawa scheme as part of the unity government's move to rid the country of any notion of corruption and pilferage. Now, the act of uploading and spreading obscene content is an offence under the Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act. Deputy Communications and Digital Minister Teo Ni Ching advised all parties to be more careful when uploading or sharing any content on social media. Teo was asked on the spread of a video of a young couple allegedly engaging in an indecent act in a car. She said the ministry, through the Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, would cooperate with the Royal Malaysia Police, PDRM, to identify the individuals who uploaded the inappropriate content.
Saya nak menasihati orang awam. Saya tahu video ini sudah jadi viral, tetapi kami akan MCMC, SKMM, kami akan bekerjasama dengan pihak polis supaya untuk memastikan bahawa kandungan lucah ini tidak disebar kerana ini memang merupakan satu kesalahan di bawah Akta Komunikasi dan Multimedia, Section 233.
Under the Communications and Multimedia Act, those convicted can face a maximum fine of 50,000 ringgit or imprisonment of up to a year or both. Regulations as well as guidelines for childcare centre management will be improved from time to time to avoid children negligence incidents at childcare centres from happening again. Women, Family and Community Development Minister Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri stressed that it is also vital to ensure the quality of childcare service provided.
Pekerja-pekerja kita, penyelia kita dan juga pegawai-pegawai kita, sukarelawan kita bagi membolehkan mereka untuk mengetahui apa yang mereka harus lakukan berdasarkan kepada syarat-syarat yang telah dilulus dan juga yang kita kemas kini yang terbaru. Jadi dari masa ke semasa kita akan melihat apa lagi perkara yang diperlukan untuk kita untuk memperbaiki keadaan di taska-taska.
She was commenting on the issue of a baby who was hurt due to neglect at a childcare centre that went viral recently. Datuk Seri Nancy said her ministry had instructed the care centre to be temporarily closed while investigations are underway. The minister said KPWKM takes responsibility to ensure that registered childcare centre operators comply with the conditions as stipulated under the Childcare Centre Act 1984 to deal with any cases that occur at the premises. Malacca plans to gazette the country's Independence Declaration Day as a public holiday in the state, which will be announced in the near future. Chief Minister Datuk Seri Abdul Rauf Yusof said the one-day public holiday had been approved by the state government and it would come into effect next year.
Tidak, Melaka tak akan minta. Cuti yang sedia ada kita pindahkan kepada cuti Hari Pengisytiharan Kemerdekaan Malaysia di Melaka. Cuti itu tak ditambah dan tidak dikurang. Ada cuti-cuti umum untuk negeri Melaka akan dijadikan pada tarikh Hari Pengisytiharan Kemerdekaan Malaysia ini sebagai Hari Pengisytiharan. Cuti umum sebagai Hari Pengisytiharan Kemerdekaan Malaysia. Sebab ini adalah merupakan satu sejarah yang perlu diketahui oleh rakyat.
He said he would announce the date of the public holiday later after obtaining the exact date to be referred to from the National Archives. The Malaysia Islamic Development Department, JAKIM, fully supports the warning issued by the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, on religious confrontation by Israeli forces at Al-Aqsa Mosque in Baitul Maqdis last week. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Dr. Muhammad Naim Mokhtar, said JAKIM will always voice out its support to any parties that object the inhumane act by the Zionist regime.
Ini merupakan satu perbuatan yang tidak boleh diterima oleh mana-mana manusia yang mempunyai pemikiran yang rasional. Yang tidak boleh kita tengok gambaran macam mana mereka-mereka yang sedang salat ditolak, menafikan hak mereka itu. Jadi saya ingat apa yang dibuat oleh OIC dan bantah-bantah yang dibuat itu kita memang setujulah.
He said this after the launching of Al-Falah Al-Quran Preceptor of Youth program in Kuala Lumpur last night. Still ahead, potential exports to China expands to 3.2 billion ringgit.
The number of malicious and false statements spread by SMS or social media platforms have become too widespread. The public is advised to be careful and not fall for such ploys and sharing or forwarding such messages. Remember that spreading fake news is an offence under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. This carries the penalty of a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit or up to 1 year imprisonment or both upon conviction.
Welcome back. Pharma will set up 103 farmers markets across the country to carry out the Shawwal Madani special sale starting 15th April. Its Deputy Director General for Operations, Abdul Rashid Bahri, said the farmers market, which focuses on the sale of essential goods for Hari Raya Aidil Fitri this year, will operate for 6 days until 20th April, offering reasonable prices. Abdul Rashid Bahri, who is currently assuming the duties of the Pharma Director General, said the farmers market, which targets sales of 12.5 million ringgit, will be officiated at the Klanajaya Farmers Market on 15th April by Agriculture and Food Securities Minister Datuk Sri Mohammad Sabu. Among the items that will be sold are beef, chicken, vegetables, and just before Hari Raya, and coconut palm leaves to make ketupat. Abdul Rashid said Pharma was also confident that the items needed for Hari Raya sold at the farmers market was sufficient, while adding that ground monitoring will also be carried out by Pharma personnel. Malaysia's recent trade and investment mission to China has now generated potential exports worth 3.2 billion ringgit to the Republic. Minister of International Trade and Industry, Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz, said the number was higher from the 2.44 billion ringgit announced previously after the mission was extended to Hong Kong.
Pertambahan tu bila kita umumkan pada hari Ahad dan kita teruskan kita punya trip ke Hong Kong dan baru-baru ini diumumkan juga oleh syarikat tersebut, ya, syarikat Fresh Metal, yang mereka juga mendapat komitmen untuk daripada syarikat China untuk membeli hasil aluminium mereka lah.
On the 4th of April, Press Metal sealed orders worth 110 million ringgit for its aluminium bars from Dutching Enterprises Limited, Dutching of Hong Kong, apart from a 5-year commitment for the same product worth 670 million ringgit. Apart from that, the other potential exports involved several sectors, including agriculture, palm oil, and electrical and electronics. 5G network coverage in Malaysia as of end of March has reached 55%. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadzil said it is a positive development and showed that the government is on the right track in ensuring that the target of 80% of populated areas getting 5G network coverage before the end of 2023 can be achieved.
Ini adalah satu kemajuan yang positif dan bagi saya yang penting kita ingin pastikan pelaksanaan ini tidak tergendala. Dalam perbincangan setakat ini dengan syarikat-syarikat telekomunikasi yang sangat positif, ada beberapa pertimbangan yang telah diberikan apa yang boleh.
Met at the Sumbangan Cahaya Ramadan program in Kerinci, the minister said he will hold a meeting with Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim this week to finalise the policy and direction of 5G implementation in Malaysia. Coming up on the foreign front, 2 bodies found in French building collapse as rescue efforts continue. China is conducting live fire drills to round off 3 days of military exercises in response to Taiwan's president meeting with the U.S. House Speaker. Chinese fighter jets and warships simulated strikes on the self-ruled island over the weekend in exercises that sparked condemnation from Taipei and calls for restraint from Washington. The People's Liberation Army Eastern Theatre Command said the 3-day operation dubbed Joint Sword has included rehearsing an encirclement of Taiwan. China's war games involved sending planes, ships and personnel into the maritime areas and airspace around all 4 sides of Taiwan. A report from China's state broadcaster CCTV on Sunday said drills had simulated joint precision strikes against key targets on Taiwan Island and surrounding waters, adding that forces continue to maintain the situation of closely encircling the island. The Air Force also deployed dozens of aircraft to fly into the target airspace, and ground forces had carried out drills for multi-target precision strikes. In Washington, a State Department spokesperson said the United States had consistently urged restraint and no change to the status quo, while the Pentagon said it too was monitoring events closely. 2 bodies were found in the rubble of a building that collapsed in Marseille, France, following a major explosion as the rescue workers scrambled to find at least 6 people still unaccounted for. The discovery of the bodies came about 24 hours after the blast brought down the 4-story building in the Mediterranean port city. Emergency workers had continued rescue operations through Sunday night into the early hours on Monday with the help of a crane and lights, but a persistent fire underneath the rubble hampered their work, making it difficult for firefighters to deploy sniffer dogs. Early on Sunday, before the recovery of the bodies, local prosecutor Dominic Lawrence told reporters that 8 people were not responding to phone calls. She added a gas explosion was clearly one of the possible causes. Multiple witnesses told they had heard the sound of a blast, and some reported a strong gas odor. More than 100 firefighters were battling the blaze in the ruins of the building, believed to have 1 apartment on each floor. The intense heat as the building burns has kept search dogs from picking through the rubble. Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said it would be several hours or maybe longer before the fire was out. The rescuers' task had been complicated by the partial collapse of one of the adjoining buildings, where 8 people had to be brought down by ladder after taking refuge on a roof terrace. Other buildings on the street were evacuated and around 180 residents put up in schools, while an aid centre for people looking for missing family members or loved ones has been opened in a neighbouring district. A Saudi delegation was in Yemen's capital on Sunday to negotiate a potential new truce with the Iran-backed Houthi rebels who control the city as Riyadh seeks a way out of the war. Houthi media showed the group's political leader Mahdi al-Mashhad shaking hands and meeting with Saudi officials, including the kingdom's ambassador to Yemen, Mohammed al-Jaber. The delegation's arrival comes roughly a month after China helped broker a surprise rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran. The Houthis seized the city in 2014, triggering the conflict with the internationally recognized government, which has been backed for 8 years by a military coalition led by Riyadh. A truce announced roughly a year ago has significantly reduced hostile activities within Yemen and is still largely respected, even though it officially expired in October. Meanwhile, Sana'a residents told AFP they had hoped for a breakthrough that would go beyond a Saudi exit, stressing the need for a political resolution among their country's warring parties.
يدينا السلام وليس عندنا أي لف أو دوران بس سلام عادل شامل وليس انبطاح وما نريد إلا أن نكون أخوة متواحدين مع جيراننا ولهم مصالحهم ولنا مصالحنا ونعيش في أمان. لا نريد حرب. الحرب هي دمار الشعوب. يكفي ما وصلت الأمم إليه.
نتمنى ونسأل من الله أنهم يتفقوا ويخرجوا بحل يرضي على الأهم والأساس وهو الشعب اليمني. بغض ضاق من كثر هذا الوضع والمماطلات ومن عام إلى عام وهم يأملون بالشعب خير.
4 people were killed and more injured in an avalanche near Mont-Blanc in southeastern France. President Emmanuel Macron wrote on Twitter that rescue services were continuing to search for further casualties and that his thoughts were with the victims and their families. King Charles and his wife Camilla will travel to and from the coronation next month in Diamond Jubilee State Coach, built to commemorate Elizabeth's 60th year on the throne and first used in 2014. The carriage's interior includes samples of objects taken from historic buildings and palaces, while on top sits a gilded crown carved from oak from HMS Victory, one of the Royal Navy's 18th century flagships. It is 7 meters long, 3.6 meters tall, and weighs 4 tons and needs 8 horses to pull it. A 17-meter-long sperm whale died after washing up on a beach in Bali, making it the 3rd whale that beached itself on the Indonesian island in just a little over a week. A local marine and fisheries official told AFP on Sunday that their initial suspicion is that the sperm whale found Saturday also died of sickness, just like the whale found stranded a few days ago. Coming up in sports, big wins in Super League as JDT trounced Kedah 6-0. Johor Darul Ta'zim JDT continue their winning ways, trouncing Kedah Darul Aman KDA FC 6-0 in their Super League match at Sultan Ibrahim Iskandar Putri Stadium last night. Now, the club showed its depth and talent with 6 different players finding the net and KDA FC unable to reply.
Super Malaysia 2023.
Argentinian striker Fernando Martin Forestieri opened accounts in the 23rd minute, while defender Mohammad Feroz Barudin made it 2-0 in the 48th minute. Oscar Pasero Arribas then scored 2 minutes later, putting victory virtually beyond the visiting team. The Canaries then suffered the ignominy of conceding a penalty after defender Mohammad Akmal Matzahir brought down Bergson's Gustavo Silveira da Silva, who had no problem finding the back of the net in the 52nd minute. JDT's 5th goal came from Arif Aiman Mohammad Hanapi in the 76th, and finally Leandro Sebastian Velasquez ended the match with a 6th goal in the 86th minute. And in the last match of the night, home team Penang FC also beat visiting PDRM FC with a scoreline of 4-2. The visitors managed to get an early start by scoring in the 3rd minute, courtesy of Marcus Macaulay. But Penang was undeterred, equalising in the 11th minute through James Okwusa, then taking the lead through Suni Saad in the 17th minute. PDRM did not take things lying down, however, and bounced back to equalise through Azmi Muslim in the 28th minute. Things then went downhill for the visiting team in the second half as Penang's Suni scored his second goal in the 53rd minute before Rahmat Makasov settled the match with a 69th minute goal to end things at 4-2. Liverpool forward Roberto Firmino scored a late goal to rescue a 2-2 draw with Arsenal, which robbed the Premier League leaders of their 8th consecutive victory and what would have been their first win at Anfield since 2012. Arsenal had taken the lead through forward Gabriel Martinelli in the 8th minute, and the Brazilian then set up compatriot Gabriel Jesus in the 28th minute.
Looking at the two halves, probably is a fair result, and you have to take it. And the big lesson is play the way we play the first half. The lesson is stick to what we've done in the first half. Play with that personality. It's our way of playing, and that's the way we have to continue to play. And if we do that, we'll win a lot of games.
Mohamed Salah's strike just before the break flipped the momentum of the game, and despite the Egyptian then missing a penalty early in the second half, Arsenal were incapable of turning the tide. Wave upon wave of Liverpool attack after the break was finally rewarded when Roberto Firmino headed in 3 minutes from time. Arsenal have 73 points from 30 games, 6 points more than second-placed City, who have a game in hand, while Liverpool sit 8th with 44 points from 29 games. Moving on to tennis, Ons Jabeur defeated defending champion Belinda Bencic in straight sets to win the WTA Charleston Open clay court tournament on Sunday. Jabeur, the world number 5 from Tunisia, avenged her defeat to Bencic in last year's final with a hard-fought 7-6, 6-4 victory in just under 2 hours. Switzerland's Bencic was forced to make a quick turnaround on Sunday, completing a weather-disrupted semi-final win over Jessica Pegula before returning to face Jabeur in the final round 30 minutes later. There was no immediate sign of weariness from the Swiss player as she started strongly to take a 5-3 lead in the opening set. Again, momentum swung back and forth with Bencic holding 2 set points after opening up a 6-4 lead in the tiebreak before Jabeur reeled off 4 straight points to take the set. Jabeur then raced to a 4-1 lead in the second set, and although Bencic responded well, Jabeur was soon serving for the match at 5-4 up. Bencic squandered 3 break points that would have levelled the set at 5-all before Jabeur eventually converted her second match point to seal the 4th title of her career.
7-6, 6-4.
Elsewhere, top seed Kasper Ruud beat Miomir Kecmanovic of Serbia in straight sets to win the Estoril Open. The Norwegian world number 5 triumphed 6-2, 7-6 in a match lasting 1 hour 48 minutes to take his first title of the season. The victory saw Ruud bag a 10th tour-level title and 9th on clay. And in golf, Spain's John Ram won the Masters by 4 strokes after shooting a 3-under par final round of 69 at Augusta National to end a 12-under par overall. Americans Brooke Koepka and Phil Mickelson tied for second place, ending 8-under overall as Ram clinched a victory that returns him to golf's world number 1 ranking. Ram began the final round of 2 strokes behind Koepka, but took the lead on the 6th hole when Koepka bogeyed, and he never looked back while his rival faded out of contention. The victory was the 28-year-old Ram's second in a major following his triumph at the US Open in 2021, and he became the 4th Spaniard to win the Masters. His win came on what would have been the 66th birthday of his idol, Seth Ballesteros, who won the Masters 40 years ago.
Kecemasan boleh saya bantu?
Hello, there's been a motorcycle accident here. Maybe an elephant ran it over.
Sir, there is fire accident at the address number 5 Jalan Tembika Shah Alam. PGO from FRT Shah Alam, there was no fire accident here. Over.
MERS 999. Use it wisely.
And with that, we reach the end of today's Updates at Noon. In our top story today, 7 billion ringgit worth of projects under Jana Wibawa cancelled. Now, don't forget to catch Malaysia tonight at 8:30 p.m. on Saluran Berita RTM, or you can stream it via RTM Click's website and mobile app. Now, we leave you with a reindeer racing championships in the Finnish town of Inari. 14 reindeer and jockeys compete for the Reindeer King title in the season's final race in the Arctic. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya. Goodbye for now.